everyone. We're gonna get going. Appreciate everyone coming. I think there might be one or two people filling in as we go. So just a quick introduction of who we are. So my name's Sam.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Rosanna. Hello, how are you?
And we're from Scarborough Centre for Healthy Communities. So local organization has several branches across Scarborough, and it's an integrated health organization. So we have care that has to do with kind of doctors and more specific like kind of nurses, healthcare, mental health counselors like myself. So I'm a social worker by trade. In addition to other kind of senior care. And what we're doing is we're delivering a presentation that one of our really great coworkers, Nalani, put together about elder abuse, just kind of giving some information about it, different types, what to look out for, kind of preventative things. And we're going to do our best. If there's any kind of questions that you have, we'll do our best to answer them. If we can't, we have a good amount of resources to pass along and some great colleagues of ours that we can pass along their information as well if we can't answer those, okay? So we'll do the best that we can.
So elder abuse is defined as a single, elder abuse is defined as a single or repeated act of lack of appropriate action occurring with any relationship where there is an expectation of trust, which causes harm or distress to an older person. And this is the official definition from the World Health Organization, and it's the most recent one from 2024. And so elder abuse often occurs when there is an imbalance of control. And imbalance of control is when one person acts like they have more power. The abuser either limits or takes control over the rights and freedoms of the senior. And the abuse violence is used to intimidate, humiliate, coerce, frighten, or simply just make the senior feel powerless. So based on the census data of 2020, there are currently 2 million older adults over the age of 65 residing in Ontario, which translates to 200,000 older adults in Ontario alone experiencing or at risk of elder abuse. And studies indicate that 8 to 10% of older adults experience some form of abuse. So we talked about the definition. And so now we're going to talk about the different types of elder abuse. And again, let's make it more interactive. Can you name any types of elder abuse that first come to mind? Financial, yes. Anybody else? Physical, yes. Perfect, yep.
Not speaking to the person appropriately.
Not speaking to the person appropriately, yes. These were all great answers, and you all are correct. So we're going to talk about them more and define them more and explain them more. So we mentioned financial, and that is actually the most common form of elder abuse. And it's mostly perpetuated by family members, the closest ones that are closest to you. And it is any improper conduct done with or without informed consent of the senior that results in monetary or personal gain to the abuser and or monetary or personal loss for the older adult. And so examples of financial abuse is withholding any type of money, forcing the sale of property or possessions, theft or misuse of money or property, which will include household goods, clothes, jewelry, any type of stuff like that, coercing changes in wills, also misusing power of attorney responsibilities, and also fraud.
I think in general, in the application that they're talking about, they'd be referring to incidents when people with the POA responsibilities start to encroach on what those decisions are. So maybe setting that ahead of time, making sure that you do have a power of attorney when that point is something that you need, whether it's kind of physically, cognitively, but maybe someone's starting to make certain decisions or starting to want to use those responsibilities before it's needed, when the cognitive abilities are still there, still able to be independent, but someone with that POA designation is starting to maybe move in a direction that is somewhat manipulative. Does that provide any more information? Okay.
Perfect, thank you, Sam. And so that was financial abuse, and so now we're going to talk about psychological abuse. And so the definition of emotional or psychological abuse is any action, verbal or nonverbal, that lessens a person's sense of identity, dignity, and self-worth. So examples are bullying, threatening, name-calling, treating an older person like a child, making decisions for a senior unnecessarily, and impose physical and social isolation, including shunning, excluding, ignoring, and lack of acknowledgement. So next we have physical abuse, which we also mentioned. And so that is the use of physical force that causes pain, discomfort, or injury, or that is excessive or inappropriate in the circumstance of B, inappropriately administering or withholding a medication. And so examples of that are over-medicating or withholding necessary medications, inappropriate use of restraint, rough handling, shaking, pushing, pulling, and slapping, hitting, kicking, pinching, beating, and twisting. So physical abuse. Possible indicators for physical abuse. Sometimes, when someone is physically abused, they may not be abused in the open. And so some indicators may be unexplained injuries, unexplained bruising, burn marks. You may see someone with unexplained accidents, oh, I just fell, up the stairs or something, just trying to cover up the accidents. Unkept appearance, and signs of under or over medicated. And so next we have sexual abuse. And the definition for sexual abuse is any sexual behavior directed toward an older adult without that person's full knowledge and consent, such as coercing an older person through force, trickery, threats, or other means into unwanted sexual activity. And examples of this is unwanted sexual touching or kissing, sexual assault, inappropriate sexual language or joking of a sexual nature that is demeaning, seductive language or acts, unnecessary touching of the genital area that is not part of the care plan, and forced viewing of pornography. And so next we have neglect, and this is the failure to meet the needs necessary for the older person's physical and mental well-being. It may be passive neglect due to lack of experience, information, resources, or ability. And so some examples of this is failing to provide adequate food, drink, or medical attention. So neglecting someone when it comes to their meal times, neglecting, maybe someone wants to take a drink, but saying no, you can only drink in the morning or afternoon. Leaving an elderly person in an unsafe or isolated situation. Failure to listen and respond to expressed needs or concerns. So if someone is telling you they're expressing something to that person and just ignoring it, like my friend mentioned, that is neglect as well. And failure to change incontinent residence or respond to calls for assistance. And so now we're gonna watch a video, and going off of talking about the signs of abuse and elder abuse, we're gonna talk about how to care for someone, how to talk to someone you were concerned about if you think that they are being abused.
Neighbors, friends, and family members are often aware of the warning signs of elder abuse, but they may not know what to do about it. If you are concerned about someone you know, reach out to them. Use a 3-step conversation called SYNC IT. See it, name it, check it. 1. See it. You see something that makes you feel uncomfortable. You might have said to yourself, it's not right. 2. Name it. Name the warning sign. Say, I saw him yelling at you. Describe just the facts. Name your concern. I am worried about you. 3. Check it. Ask a question. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? Be supportive and listen carefully. Don't push. They may not want to talk about it. Let them know that you are available to listen whenever they want. The decision to talk is up to them. Leave the door open. Your support can make a big difference. For more information, visit Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario online, a Future Us partner.
And so this Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario is actually a great resource to access if you have more questions or you need more information. And it's something that I highly recommend. I just have one more slide and then Sam will take over. All right, and so it's very important to know your rights. So older adults in Ontario who are capable have the right to make their own decisions, to choose what is best for themselves, to expect services to enhance capacity, to maintain control over their destiny and decisions, and to preserve and maintain their quality of life. So everyone, especially if you are a older adult, you have rights, and we need to make sure that we are expressing and making sure that we have autonomy over ourselves. All right, now it's Sam's turn. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of prevention, we've gotten a bit of an idea of the different types, and obviously these are good things to watch out for now, but not just for yourself. Maybe it's for a neighbor or a close friend of yours, just to have a better idea. And these things evolve. So obviously as things change in your life, whether it's an injury or mobility, and there might be some more involvement, having a better idea of some of these things can't hurt. So in terms of prevention, regular contact with friends, family, and support networks. So I was looking at some of the research this morning. A lot of studies, even starting back in the 70s, 90s, even today, a lot of research into the benefits of social interaction on life longevity for all genders. So that's just something to keep an eye on. So whether it's socializing with a close group of friends or a close friend, or maybe it's a spiritual connection or neighbors, it could be something more recreational or a physical or even just productive, something that gets you out and gets you connected. That sense of connection is tied to life longevity. So like I was saying, so staying active in the community, whatever that looks like to you, finding out what things kind of scratch that itch for you, get you out, make you feel like you're out and about, and obviously that's good for your well-being, but also it prevents that sense of isolation that sometimes can be at play when abuse is present, okay? Having your own phone and open your own mail, so that sense of autonomy. Even as things progress, if someone is maybe a power attorney, someone's taking over and is helping with paying the bills, something like that, it still doesn't hurt to maybe looking that over first, still checking it out. Even if someone is going to be the primary one over XYZ, staying involved in your affairs can't hurt, right? Just being involved. And being familiar with the services that are available. So Scarborough Centre for Healthy Communities has a great amount of resources. We're going to be passing out some resources a little later on that provide some more information. And if you have any more questions, we're happy to provide anything that we can, because we do have a lot of programs that are for seniors, and it doesn't hurt to know what's around the area to keep you connected. Taking control of your own decisions in healthcare. So making sure that when going to appointments, you feel like you're leaving feeling most informed and understanding. I know for myself, going to some appointments, especially when you could be worried about certain things, even if it's just a checkup, it can be overwhelming, and sometimes leaving feeling like there's some question marks. Making sure that whether it's kind of writing some questions ahead of time, writing them down and bringing them to the appointment, so when you leave, you're making sure that you're keeping yourself accountable to those questions that you may have. Maybe it could look like, as things progress, bringing someone with you to make sure that whether it's a translation, that you're leaving feeling understood with your questions, and that the doctor understands what you would like to know. Asking for help. This is something that's tough, because right here, it's the shortest one, but it can be one of the toughest. Asking for help can be really challenging, especially with the subject matter that we're talking about, because it's not as easy as it seems. Whether it's for yourself or a friend or a neighbor or someone you're close with, if you observe something and you're having a challenge with it and you need help with that, or you just need help with something, that isn't always the easiest thing. So finding whether it's one person or a range of people that you feel comfortable speaking to about things when they get difficult, that's really important. And these are good things to kind of plan in advance to make sure that, when things get tough, or if things get tough, and it's not necessarily that you're planning for a negative thing to happen, it's just being prepared that regardless, you feel like you have a close tie of someone that you trust and you feel safe with to express yourself if some of these uncomfortable things do come up. And that's where that comes in. Sometimes it can feel wrong, it can feel just uncomfortable, so having that connection is important. And if you're not satisfied with any care services now or as you get older, making sure that you're knowledgeable of the right resources that you have, whether it's directly here or larger ones in terms of phone numbers, emails, that you can follow through with, so you can express that, so you can make sure that you are being heard. And so again, so planning ahead. So we were kind of touching on this early in terms of the power of attorney or living will. Whether it's already in place or you're kind of putting it in place for later, or maybe you already have them, it doesn't hurt to just check up on them. I know that sometimes these things can be put in place at different stages in life, but having a quick revisit on them, making sure that the names are still important, they're still relevant. Sometimes those names can change, people move around, people pass away, making sure that the names of people that you have as executors of your will, the people who are going to help to line those things up after are in place. So making sure that those are things that you're thinking about, and it doesn't have to be something that you're doing alone, making sure that, again, that sense of autonomy that you are, but also if you have someone else who can do a passover of it, that's great as well. Medical treatment, what are the things that you want and don't want, making sure that those are known to said people that are going to be the ones that are helping out with your care as time goes on. So you know that maybe if you're not physically or verbally able to express that your wishes are still being carried out. And then with any big decision, it's just important to know that thinking things through, all the logistics, if there's a different move or a new care plan coming in, making sure that you feel like that this has been well thought out and that the people that are going to be participating in your care have knowledge of what it entails. And just having alternative options regardless doesn't hurt. So having a family member that's going to help out if mobility, for example, that's great, but knowing of other available resources is really important. And that's one of the things we're going to be passing out when I finish here, is just local resources that can help with those resources so you have a better idea of alternatives if you need them. So in terms of protection, there's a lot of different things. And I think financials can be really challenging, especially when they can be kind of confusing. So just certain things that might seem simple, just making sure that you have knowledge of your bank numbers and that not giving them out to anyone that doesn't need to, not lending any money without a formal payback schedule, and just making sure that things are being recorded. So it touches on another slide, but writing things down. If someone's going to be borrowing something, for example, or you're giving things out, it doesn't hurt to write things down. Obviously, it's great to make sure that memory's still going and engaging in that, but working to write things down so you have a record of things as well. Automatic bills, that can be so handy, just making sure in terms of security that the only engagement is between the bill company and yourself and your bank account. That can take a lot of pressure off of ensuring having the involvement of someone else. Direct deposits as well, same thing. And then again, this is similar. You'll start to see a carryover of obviously doing the best to make sure that you're living in a way that you feel is autonomous as long as you feel comfortable. But then also it doesn't hurt to have someone else that you trust, whether it's a friend or maybe one of the legal services that we are going to recommend here, that you can use if you would like someone else to look over it. So let's say you're looking over your will and you're looking and you see something that kind of raises a flag that, I don't know, maybe I want to change that. It doesn't hurt to have someone else look that over to kind of give a second opinion there. And then don't let someone guilt trip you into doing something you're not comfortable with. I think anytime anyone is in a position of vulnerability, or whether it's in terms of power, staff structure, regardless of what that is, just making sure that you feel comfortable with the decisions being made at a pace that you're comfortable with. So if you're going into a meeting and something needs to be signed, maybe asking ahead of time if it's possible to have access to that so you can read it, go over it, take notes, ask any questions, and have a level of preparation so when you go in there, you're not just blindly signing something, because that can happen to anyone, and that doesn't always happen with any necessarily with malice. It could just be a logistical thing, but just doing your due diligence to make sure that you feel prepared when you have to sign or go through any process. Again, so legal documents. So we have resources for some free legal advice and resources that are available, and we'll be passing those out. Reading things over, having someone look them over. Again, these are things that are coming up again. Keeping valuables in a place that you're comfortable with, and just not lying around. Being informed of your financial affairs. Again, if there's someone that helps you out with that, that's great. It still doesn't hurt to say, do you mind just keeping me up to date? I'd like to be a part of this process. I know you're helping out, and I know it might be your forte, and you're better with this kind of thing for sure. But still, as much as you're comfortable with, as much as you like being part of that process. Yeah, and just like I said, look, I said that exact thing. Just being updated on things as they change with your will and your power of attorney. And just in terms of reporting elder abuse, we're just going to play a quick video.
If you are concerned about an older person's safety, there are different ways to report and respond to situations that can help the person in need and prevent further abuse. If you are worried about an older person's safety, voice your concern. Talk with the person and offer your support. If the person says, "I'm okay," don't press. Respect their wishes, but stay connected and supportive. You can always seek advice from a professional you know and trust, like a care provider or social worker, or reach out to an elder abuse prevention organization. If you can't reach the person you are worried about, you can call the police and request a wellness check to make sure they are okay. Officers will assess the situation, speak to the older adult, inform them of their rights, address safety concerns, and connect them to community support services. If the person you are worried about has capacity issues, contact agencies in your community, especially if they are at risk of serious financial or personal harm. You can call Ontario 211 to find programs and services in your community. Ask the court to appoint a guardian to make financial and personal care decisions. Have a formal capacity assessment done to determine the person's ability to make care and financial decisions. Contact the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee. They may investigate if no alternative solution can be found. If someone you know is at imminent risk of harm, call the police immediately. Law enforcement and victim services can intervene and support victims of abuse. You can also report elder abuse anonymously by calling Senior Crime Stoppers. Trust your instincts. You don't have to prove it to report it. In Ontario, it is mandatory to report abuse that takes place in a long-term care or retirement home. Whether you are a staff member, a volunteer, or a visitor, if you notice something, you must report it directly to the authorities. If you are an older person experiencing abuse or neglect, it's okay to ask for help. Confide in someone you know and trust, a friend, a family member, a care provider, or someone you know in the community. They can help you figure out what to do next. We all have a role to play in keeping each other safe. To learn more, visit Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario online.
Yeah, and this is a Canadian presentation, so those are all really relevant numbers, all numbers that you can access. Yeah, so I'm just going to get to those numbers, and just in terms of reporting. So, like I said in the beginning, not something that's easy. Whether it's for yourself and an experience that you've had, or something that you're kind of questioning if it was right, if it kind of felt wrong, or it's for a neighbor, a friend, whatever that is, that's not inherently easy, and we just want to acknowledge that. And that's where having someone that you feel safe expressing that with is important. So whether that is here, or you want to kind of create a relationship with SCHC and the social workers that we have, we can we have the space and the counselors to provide that support as well. I just want to make you feel known that those supports are out there, and that abuses can be something that brings up a lot, guilt and discomfort, and just kind of sometimes icky feelings. So making sure that you have the ability to feel validated and seek support. So if you're with someone and it's a friend and they're maybe disclosing something to you, that you're able to provide that other end, that you have some more information now if you're on the other end of it and you're hearing about something that someone else has experienced, that you're providing a warm, validating sense of support for them. So this is a great slide. Obviously 911, if you want to do a wellness check, if it's not an emergency and you just want someone to be checked up on, there's other great people, depending on your comfort, that you can look out to. Your doctor, definitely a sense of some sort of confidentiality there. Friend and family is just a comfort level thing. spiritually, if that's something that you are really comfortable with, if it's someone in your clergy, maybe it's a priest or a member of the faith that you feel you can confide in, that's great as well. And then anyone in your community, that's obviously up to you. So you have these in front of you, and we just wanted to make sure that no one had to kind of write these down, and you have access to these for later. So yeah, again, anything kind of criminal that you're worried about, any abuse that Senior Crime Stoppers is there. Senior Safety Line is great because you can call them even if you're looking for information about other resources, abuse. They do have counselors available there. Assault and Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Center, those are great numbers as well. One more here. I don't want to lose it. And then, like I was mentioning, some of the law things. So free 30-minute consultation, advocacy center is great if kind of income, legal stuff is expensive, so having an option for that is great. And the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee is really great if, again, any kind of sort of abuse and you're on the fence, you don't know what to do, this is a great organization to contact because they have a mandate to investigate, to make sure that whether it's kind of capacity issues, making sure that people can make those calls and that they're not in a position of vulnerability as these things change. So those numbers, and these are all things you have in front of you. So I want to give you a mix of kind of practical information that you can contact and you can have as things develop, because maybe not everything is applicable right now, but being prepared it can't hurt. And then if you do have to go across and come across any of these numbers, this is just some information just to be prepared. Again, going ahead, making sure that you're prepared so when you have that call, there's not as much of an unknown. So just being informed on what they might ask you. So who are their supports? What did you notice? What have you seen? Who's involved? Health conditions? What's kind of going on with this person that you might have concern with? And abuse or neglect. So like we were talking about, whether it's some of the abuses that we were talking about, neglect, if there's a lack of care, and just these are some of the things that they might be looking for. So that's our last slide. So I hope that was informative. We just wanted to give a good mix of kind of practical and informative so you have information as time goes on. Thanks for your time.